So this happened last fall in Beaver Valley Woods out in Pennsylvania. It was just me and my boyfriend, and we were big nature people who always enjoyed the outdoors. My boyfriend enjoyed it a bit more than I did because he suffered from night terrors and sleepwalking. Like, it's bad. He often wakes up in the middle of the night screaming and sweating. But the woods and nature always seemed to help calm him down, which was why we were camping in the story. We had found a good secluded spot by a tiny river. Our plan was to only camp for a few nights and then head back home. We had been eating and drinking by the campfire the first night. Even though it was fall, it was pretty warm that night, especially with our campfire. And after we ate and packed up our food, we decided to call it a night and went into our tent to get some sleep. It must have been super late, but I woke up suddenly in the tent. I looked over and noticed my boyfriend was not next to me. I unzipped our tent and saw him standing by the very edge of the clearing. The fire had nearly gone out at this point, and there was very little light, but I could see him. He was facing the woods and just standing there. And as I walked a bit closer to see if he was okay, I could hear him saying to himself, "The lady in black, she's here, she's in the woods." This was creepy as hell to hear, because I had no idea what he was talking about, but I figured he was sleepwalking and talking in his sleep. I stood next to him and looked out into the dark woods. Just as I was pulling his shoulders for him to come back to the tent, I heard this low but distinct laughing. It sounded like a female, not too far off in the woods. I shook my boyfriend and he sort of snapped out of the sleepwalking trance that he was in. I told him to come back to the tent and we tried to get some sleep. The next morning, we woke up and my boyfriend had no recollection of anything last night. I told him what he said about the lady in black and how I heard someone laughing, but he remembered none of it. He had this horrified look. He said he doesn't remember waking up, but he did have a dream about an old lady dressed in black with pale white skin hovering above him in the tent. Since then, we haven't gone back to those woods. Maybe the lady in black was a dream, but that laughter I heard was real. Every year, a bunch of my friends and I will go camping for a week just to get away from the city life. It's very therapeutic. We were out in some deep woods of North Carolina during midsummer. We love to make campfires, tell creepy stories, and just enjoy each other's company. Well, it was nighttime, and we were all sitting around the fire I built, eating our burgers and hot dogs. We were discussing what we were going to do the next day, when we suddenly went quiet. If you've ever camped before, you know it never really gets quiet. The sounds of the woods are loud, but it instantly just got quiet for us, which actually could mean there was a predator nearby, or some sort of large animal. We sat there cautiously, listening for any sounds of footsteps or twigs snapping. We were starting to get freaked out. I was thinking it could have been a bear or something dangerous when we heard a noise I wasn't expecting. And it was voices, soft voices, like children. I looked at all my friends and I could tell they heard it too. They seemed to be coming from every part of the woods. We took our flashlights and we all shone them into the woods. We scanned to see if we could see anything, but we couldn't. Just darkness and trees. And here's the weird part. The voices did not stop all night long. We eventually made it to our tents and tried to sleep, but we had a really hard time doing so. The next morning, we woke up and the woods sounded normal again. No children's voices. We eventually make it back home and start telling others about what we experienced. I was telling my one buddy and his dad told me something that shocked me. He told me that the part of woods we had camped in had allegedly been haunted, and many people have experienced strange and unexplainable things there. We still go camping every year, but we refuse to go back to those particular woods in North Carolina. I truly believe they're haunted. still can't explain how or why this happened, but here it is. A few years ago, my girlfriend and I were out camping in West Virginia. It's one of our favorite spots to camp and be with nature. We had went on a long hiking trip earlier that day, and by the time it was dark, we were absolutely exhausted. We ate a quick meal we had packed, and then decided to get some sleep because we had another hike we were going to do in the morning. As we were lying down, even though I was super tired, I was just scrolling on my phone looking at Instagram and TikTok. My girlfriend was already fast asleep when I got a text. I have an iPhone, and the text came from an email. I can't remember the full email name, but it was something like Dark Forest Man. I opened the text and all it said was, "I see you." I found this very creepy as it was just me and my girlfriend out here alone in the woods. I texted back, "Who's this?" I could see the bubbles typing back and they said, "A nightmare." I woke up my girlfriend and showed her the texts. She was also freaked out. I didn't reply to the text message. Instead, I decided to call it. We sat there listening to the phone dial, and that's when we heard this distant but distinct ringing of a cell phone not too far from us somewhere in the woods. We get out of the tent and start scanning the woods. I'm continuing to call it, and I can still hear the other phone ringing somewhere close by in the darkness. Just then, I got another text. It was a picture of me and my girlfriend in real time, standing by our tents and looking out into the woods. I told my girlfriend we need to leave now. We packed everything up and loaded it into my car, despite it being like 1 in the morning. As we're driving down the windy back roads and hills of the mountain, I get another text. My girlfriend opened it and it said, "Smart move. Next time you won't be so lucky." We didn't stop driving until we made it back to my apartment at 5 in the morning. When we got home, we tried calling the number back, but it told us the line had been disconnected. And to this day, we have no idea who that was or why they were stalking us. We haven't been back since.